welcome back. Our first conversation this morning is with the new acting country representative for UNICEF here in Belize. We introduce to you Mr. Sajid Ali. Good morning.
Good morning. It's very nice to meet you. Yeah.
Same here. It's your first time here on the couch with us. Yeah. I presume it's your first time in a live setting where you're going to be talking to the Belizean public. So let's begin by getting an introduction and understanding of who you are, how you came by UNICEF, and your work with children.
So my name is Sajid Ali. I'm the acting representative for UNICEF in Belize. I've been here since the mid of February, and it has been quite an amazing journey even in these 4.5 months that I've been here. I have worked previously for UNICEF in New York and many other countries in my career, especially in Pakistan, Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, and also in Switzerland. So I've been working in different parts of the world and have been working closely with children and working on environmental issues in my previous roles. So,
what got you into this?
Yeah.
So UNICEF is an organization I think everybody is quite aware of. Even not working for UNICEF, I was aware of because of the mandate it has for children. And I always wanted to work for UNICEF. I am a parent of 2 kids. Well, they're not kids anymore. They're quite grown-ups, 21 and 23. And my son is he's autistic. He's on the spectrum. And I always wanted to work for an organization that really champions for children's rights. And UNICEF, I heard it was great from the outside. Working from the inside, I love it even more.
How did you arrive at Belize? You've been on the other side of the world, as you've mentioned, and New York is the closest to Belize. But how did you?
So. I arrived because there was an opportunity, and I really was looking to get back out of a headquarters setting and into the field. And so when Belize came up, I said, yeah, let's grab it with both hands. It's not only the place, but it's also I would say, the opportunities to do more for children in a country where you have about 150 children and young people, 50,000 children and young people. There's an opportunity to do and reach everyone possible, and that's something I would like to do in a country. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you've arrived at a critical time for us here in Belize, because now more than ever before, we've been dealing with issues that affect children and the well-being of children. And so organizations like UNICEF and the partnership that UNICEF has with the government of Belize has been very instrumental in being able to address some of these issues that affect children. But you're only here in an acting capacity too, which suggests to me that at some point you'll either be given that role full-time, so to speak, or someone will take your place, in a manner of speaking. What can we expect from you in terms of your leadership of UNICEF Belize during the intervening time?
So for UNICEF, I think the important part is the role rather than the person. And someone who comes in and then moves out has to make sure that it's seamless, the leadership, and what UNICEF can do in partnership with the government of Belize for children. So whether I'm here or I'm not, I will be here for a few more months. Okay. And I've tried to make sure that I've visited every part of the country, had an opportunity to go to schools, meet children, work with every ministry possible, and a lot of partners here to build also those relationships, see the impact that we have with our work, and also to make sure there is a pipeline of work to continue. And that's important. Yes, we will have someone else coming. We are going through that recruitment process, and it takes time. Nothing happens overnight, but I'll be here, and I have some targets to meet and some relationships to strengthen, and I'll make sure that is done.
Perhaps we can dive into the details of some of what you just mentioned. When you talk about targets to meet, I think of the overall mission of UNICEF and the work that has been done here in Belize. For a person who might still not understand the role and responsibility of this organization, how would you describe that?
So UNICEF has worked in Belize since 1954, and we set up an office in 1981. So, and we are in the 6th cycle of what we call a country program document. So we have 5-year cycles of what work we do. We target them. We have our plans. And again, our work in this cycle is focusing on protection from violence for children, that ensuring every child thrives and every child learns. So these are the 3 main areas that we are targeting and working on. And we want to continue doing that. So when we talk about working a lot with children and young people, we talk about their education, we talk about their health, we talk about their nutrition, we talk about protection from violence, and violence, again, protection at home, in the communities, at school, and now even online. So there's a lot of work that UNICEF can do and is doing. But again, we can't work in isolation.
Yeah.
We have to work with the government, different ministries, and we have development partners. We have other agencies from the UN in Belize working. There's a resident coordinator who coordinates everything in the country, and we have organizations like PACT, we have NCFC, and we work with most of the, I would say, even social organizations. And it's been very rewarding, I would say, that everybody's willing to do good work for children in Belize. And I know even the media plays a very important role here in calling out when good things are done and when we need to do better. And I think that is a role which is very important, and feedback keeps us as an organization and our work going. So that's something I look forward to.
Let's step back for a second here, Mr. Ali, and I'll ask you a fairly personal question, right? So you've worked in all of these countries that you've mentioned before. What sense of fulfillment or satisfaction have you been able to enjoy doing this kind of work? Considering the fact that, as you've mentioned, you're a father of 2, you've seen your kids growing into adulthood, but you're still dealing with kids, if not at a direct level, from a policy level. What sense of satisfaction do you get?
It is satisfying to see the work on the ground, and not to be just sitting in a headquarters and dealing at it at the policy level or at an advisory role. I think that is the satisfying part, when we see how the rubber hits the road here. And Belize is a very good example on a lot of, I would say, of our activities and our partnerships, which are with schools, which are with villages, which are with communities, that you actually see the results. You see the appreciation for it too, and you see the need for it. Sometimes I think when you come to a country, you're not really aware of the issues. You see always the bright sides, the bright side of it that maybe the world sees. But yes, it's in every place that you go that you will see poverty, you will see the need for education, you will see the need for health services to be improved, and I would not single out any country for that. There is room for everyone, and children are not responsible for most of the problems in the world, but they are the ones who suffer the most.
Absolutely.
So if I could jog my memory just a bit, you've been here for the better part of about 4 months or so, right? You've traveled as far south as Mabilha, right? Where along with other government counterparts, you are dealing with a solar system and water supply, water facility for that community. What was that experience like for you, going deep south and dealing with the indigenous community in southern Belize?
I mean, it was very moving, I would say, to be able to speak to the communities, to hear from them, to see firsthand how important water is. And we were at an event on World Water Day, and the mayor of the town said, you can live without love, but you can't live without water.
Absolutely.
And I find that so true, because water is at the core of everything that happens in your life, and to provide water to places where they did not ever get that, and through solar powered, I would say, technology, that was something which you could see the appreciation for it, and also the want for more. And don't stop there. There are many more villages that need it, and how we can do that. So listening and seeing the results of the work we do, and also the commitment that this work will continue, because UNICEF is not an implementer. We try to strengthen systems, we try to hand over where then I would say communities and the government can take that work forward. That's our role, yeah, and really satisfying.
What Isani just described is really just one example of many of the contributions and impact that UNICEF has had in Belize since the 1950s or the 1980s, when you guys really planted yourself here in Belize. What are some other tangible examples of the impact of UNICEF here in this country?
I would say on the education side, strengthening the curriculum, training of teachers, having safe spaces for youth. Youth spaces is one of those examples, and having different hubs where adolescent people can feel safe, and also the community health strategy, the community health workers, their empowerment, increase in their remuneration, more coverage of I would say mothers and children through the community health workers, which was not possible. It's not, some places are not even accessible that ambulances can go there, but these community workers are there. Having this new strategy released, looking at strengthening parenting, looking at strengthening child protection laws, and having a children's parliament that we will continue to have. And there's, even in schools, how do you then strengthen them for the different climate and other related shocks that we are receiving more and more, whether it's hurricane seasons, whether it's emergencies or others. How do we keep education going? And so there's so much to talk about, and of course I'll miss some of the work at the top of my head, but I'm just trying to recall.
From my own curiosity, do different country reps come with different things or different areas that they're passionate about that they would like to see be implemented? For example, yourself traveling all over the world, do you have something that you are passionate about that you would like to see implemented here in Belize?
Yes, and you're so right about that. If a representative has a background in health, their focus will be more on health. If it's on education, it'll be more. I think for me, it is working and strengthening and providing more safe spaces and education and health services for children with disabilities. For me, that is very important.
Yes.
It is a very personal, I would say, stand that I take, and I think all over the world we see that this is an area that children are left behind, those with disabilities, and having this inclusiveness in society, in schools, I think is very important.
I think it's so interesting that you said that, because here in Belize, I still think it's an area that we still struggle in terms of providing the necessary resources that these children and parents would need, especially when we think of autism. When I think of facilities that are available, we know that we have the Stella Maris School, we have the Inspiration Center, but many other families still struggle to acquire resources and the necessary screenings and the necessary perhaps therapy that they would need as well. Based on your observation and visiting different parts of the country, is this something that you see Belize is lacking in as well?
I think there's room for improvement here, and we could do a lot. Children with disabilities need to be in mainstream schools and provided the support there. And we see that in some countries where the state or the province or the county provides that support. It's very important to have a resource teacher for those children with disability, and also I think it's important to not leave them behind, because the potential, and I can see my son now is in college. I never thought he would be at that level, but when you get support, and we moved country to country, in some places he was standing outside the class because it was not accepted.
Wow.
And in other places there's real support for him to thrive. So it should be standard. It should be for every child anywhere in the world where they need to be provided that support.
From a broader perspective, I can't help but think about inclusivity, where it has or pertains to children who are diversely able or children who are living with specific disabilities, right? If I look at Belize, we've come a long way. We're not all the way there yet, but we've come a significant way from, for instance, my childhood, where I could recall other students who were different being treated as such. It's not like we were open to embrace other people with those kinds of either physical impairments or, in some cases, mental or emotional impairment. Now, however, our society has grown to a point where we consider everybody, not just those who are properly able, if I could use that description. We consider everybody. And like I said, we're not all the way there yet, because when you look at where other countries are, relatively speaking, some other countries are way more advanced in how they're dealing with, the idea of inclusivity. You've been here a few months. What has been your gauge so far?
I find Belize very interesting when it comes to how you have people from different parts coming together, and one Belizean looking so different from another Belizean, speaking different languages, but as a country very united and working together. So I don't see a lot of disparity or exclusion in Belize, but I think it's important that every part of the country is in a way provided the same kind of, I would say, facilities and services, and whether you're in a very remote area or in the city, there has to be some, I would say, uniformity when it comes to that. So I have had a good experience so far, and seeing Belize in a very positive light, and I talk about Belize a lot to my colleagues in different parts of UNICEF. When it comes to disability, I also wanted to say one point. UNICEF has actually a target as its workforce to have 7% of its workforce with persons with disability by the year 2030. Currently, we are at 4%. So we are on track. And it's not about bringing more persons with disability into the organs, but persons who are already there, for them to feel safe enough to disclose that they have a disability and seek the support that they get.
When you look at our population makeup, you'll realize that we have a significant percentage of younger people in this country. One could argue they outnumber the older population, so to speak. So you're looking at potential, serious potential from childhood to adolescence, right? What are your thoughts on what can be done to harness that potential in terms of dealing with young men and women and also dealing with children?
The curriculum, I think it's very important. Globally, you're seeing a change, and maybe in a few years, college degrees might not be as relevant as skills would be. So building skills is something we need to focus on. Digitization is something we need to focus on. People keep talking about artificial intelligence, how it'll take over your jobs. I think it's actually those who use it will be more marketable in the workplace. So it's an opportunity, and all of us have started using it, and we find it's making our jobs better.
Easier, more efficient.
More efficient, more accurate, and less mistakes. and that's what we need to focus on. We still need to have skilled, I would say, professionals in the country when it comes to medical, the field of medicine or engineering, or I would say even the private sector and financing, and this we need to have. But the skills that will really prevail are the skills of leadership, people management, collaboration, networking. Those people-centric skills will be very important in addition to technology that we use. So I would say technology in schools, technology in at home, technology in workplaces, the utilization and availability of it will be very important for our young. And we also need to make sure those who are not privileged enough, or those who get pulled into, I would say, activities or because of where they come from and the society they live, we need to have diversion programs more available for them to get them on the right track, especially young people, and to make sure that their full potential is utilized. So for me, I think it's important the focus that we have now in the curriculum and the way of how we teach our children. And out of school activities, if they could have some, I would say, skills building opportunities. And the online platform is so big that you don't have to go anywhere. You could be learning sitting in your home or in a coffee shop.
Well, Mr. Ali, in the interim, what are some other projects that you hope to accomplish while you are here in Belize?
So there are quite a few that will take some time, but I want to lay the foundations. Well, one is on how we make our schools more resistant to climate. So you can call it beat the heat in our schools, to make the schooling of schools. That is important. With climate change, I see the weather is getting hotter all over the world, and we don't want the school to be a place where children are uncomfortable when they're studying, and they need to be there. I think that's something we could improve more on. And I would say on child protection, there's more to be done, a lot. We can see, we hear about incidents happening a lot. It's coming to light because the media and social media makes it more prominent. Maybe things were not very prevalent, which are now, which is helpful. And to make sure that legislation is stronger when it comes to that. And I would say when we come to health, we have done well, and to strengthen that network of community health workers, but also Belize has done quite well on the vaccination side, to continue that work and to make sure that vaccinations remain non-controversial and are explained clearly what they're intended for. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we thank you for the time that you've taken to sit down with us and share a bit of the work that you are doing. Of course, the experience that you also have been having here in Belize as well. We wish you guys all the best.
Thank you so much for having me.
Alrighty, we are going to take a quick break now, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, our next conversation is Unearthing Belize's Past, highlights from Belize's Archaeology Symposium.